This episode may contain explicit language.
What is a babysitting co-op? How does one work? Who babysits who? We are going to get into all of it. There are whole neighborhoods like in Park Slope that already have these set up, and they provide like their bylaws and things like that you are welcome to use.
And like when you start your co-op, you can literally come up with your own name for currency, which is very fun.
Like a shroot book?
Exactly.
This is Karen Feeding. We're just three friends with kids who get together every week to talk life, to swap advice, keep each other sane, while we muddle through this weird and beautiful thing called parenting. I'm Lucy Lopez. I also have another podcast, The Mamacita Rica. I'm mother to Amelia, who's 15, Avery, who's 13, and we live in Miami.
I'm Zak Rosen. I make another podcast called Weirdly Helpful. I am in balmy Detroit. It's 40. I'm wearing shorts. I am a dad to Noah, who's 8, and Ami, who's 5.
I'm Elizabeth Newcamp. I write the homeschool and family travel blog, Dutch Goose. I'm the mom to Henry, who's 13, Oliver, who's 11, and Teddy, who's 9, and we live in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Like I said, we're here to talk about the ups, the downs, and everything in between when it comes to parenting. And every week we answer your questions. We share our own parenting triumphs and fails and try to make this feel like the kind of conversation you'd have with your friends.
And today we've got a really interesting voicemail from a listener who just had a baby.
Yay!
Yay, mazel tov.
Yay! Congratulations to her. She wants to know about setting up a babysitting co-op. What is a babysitting co-op? How does it work? Who babysits who? We'll get into all of it with a little help from my parents. So let's start out by playing the voicemail.
Hi, Karen Feeding team. Longtime listener of the podcast since it was Mom and Dad Are Fighting. I actually credit the show to helping me decide that I can and did want to be a parent. I've listened to nearly every episode except for the last few months, which I saved up for postpartum time. I've actually had a question for about 6 months, but obviously haven't called because I had a baby, even though I wanted to call. But maybe a year ago, I think Elizabeth mentioned that her parents had a babysitting co-op, and I was hoping for all of the logistical details. Maybe even your parents could come on and talk about how they set it up and how did they handle it when different families in the co-op had a different number of kids and what age did they start, and just all of the details, please, would be amazing because I'd love to start one, but I don't really know where to start. And I thought that maybe someone who'd done it successfully would be a great place. Well, thank you again so much for your show, and you've helped me through lots of late postpartum nights, in addition to the pre-partum decision to even have kids. So now I have 2 wonderful children, and I'm so lucky. Okay, thanks so much. Bye. Love the show. Keep it up, please.
Oh my gosh, you guys, we're inspiring people to have children? This is crazy.
We are procreating with our podcast. Hey, doesn't this show just sound better with listener voices in there? Thank you for sending this.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And obviously this question is aimed at Elizabeth, but I'm really curious. I don't know what babysitting co-op is.
While it's specifically about the babysitting co-op, I think it's actually about like, how are we handling like going out and figuring this all out in this moment, like still maintaining, a relationship. Okay. I went to the source, which is my parents, because I grew up in like having this babysitting co-op. And of course,
but what is that?
Okay. So a babysitting co-op is essentially that my parents, were in their neighborhood. We grew up in Midtown Atlanta. The parents got together and organized that they would babysit together. Like that instead of hiring babysitters, they would take turns babysitting each other's children, but with a large like kind of network.
To clarify just quickly what you were saying, Elizabeth, to babysit together, you don't mean that they babysit at the same time. They trade it off, right?
Yes, Zach, you're doing a much better job explaining this.
No. Just a quick clarification.
Yeah, so like you get with another group of parents and you basically are trading off babysitting nights so that you guys don't have to hire someone you don't know. This is usually within a social group that you already have. And you just basically agree that some nights we will watch your children, and that could be like everybody comes to, my house and we watch them here and put them down here, or like in our case, if we were in a co-op, like maybe Jeff is home with our kids and I go over to your house and I watch your children. And then on another night, you would come over and watch my children. But I think we should go to my mom. She recorded her first ever, like she's never recorded a voice memo before. And her and my dad figured this out to record a voice memo so that she could just tell you their experience. So I think we should start with that voice memo.
Hi, this is my best memory of how the Midtown Babysitting Co-op worked. And remember, this was in the early 1980s, and so there was no digital anything. So the currency for the babysitting co-op was something called a chit. And the chits were physically little cards, 2 by 3 inch sort of cardboard cards that were stamped Midtown Babysitting Co-op. And each chit was good for 30 minutes of babysitting of 1 or 2 children. If you had 3 or more children, you had to double that. So it would cost you 2 chits for 30 minutes if you had 3 or more kids. And it was also double chits after midnight. So if you were out late, it cost you a lot more chips. There were, I would guess, 20 or 30 families that were members of the co-op. And there was a list with all the parent contact information, as well as the names and ages of the children. And of course, in those days, there also were not cell phones. So basically, you had the home phone numbers for all the members. And if you needed a babysitter for a particular night, you chose a family from the list. So you could choose people you knew real well, people with children that like same ages as your children, or whatever suits you. But you would call them and tell them the date and time you needed babysitting and see if they were agreeable and available to do that. And then if they were at the appropriated time, you dropped your children off at their house. So the babysitting was always done at the home of the family who was providing the babysitting service. And then when you went and picked up the kids, you paid in chits, and of course you rounded up to the next 30 minutes. And when families joined the co-op, they were given some number of chits to get them started. I don't remember if it was like 10 or 20, something like that, so that you could get involved and use the co-op and get to know other people, etc. So we did that for the whole time we lived in Midtown, and it worked really well. And that's really about all that I can remember. There may have been a meeting of the co-op parents once a year, and there may have been somebody that was in charge, but basically it kind of operated itself. You knew the rules and you just abided by them. So that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Mom. I thought
sweet.
she did a great job of laying out, I don't think I remember that much. There are amazing resources right now that are out there. I linked in the show notes to a Romper article on babysitting co-op. And if you follow that author, she actually has a whole Substack about it. There are whole neighborhoods like in Park Slope that already have these set up, and they provide their bylaws and things like that you are welcome to use. And of course, now in the digital age, you could easily do this on a spreadsheet on it. You only need a couple of families. And I think also we're a bit more wary about, it seems to me if you were putting this together, you might actually want a smaller group than what my parents were doing. Their neighborhood in Atlanta, we did a lot of things in Midtown as kind of the whole neighborhood. Zach, actually, the neighborhood I grew up in kind of reminds me of your neighborhood. We had a lot of the resources and things there. The families really knew each other. Yeah. But I think this is a wonderful way, to handle kind of the babysitting thing. And I really think you only need a couple of families to start. And I think this because when I was in Colorado, I had the first time. You guys on the show knew me when I was there the second time, but we all had babies and we're in this stroller stride group together. And there were about 8 of us that all had our seconds right around the same time. And we had our own little I would call it preschool co-op. We got together once a week to teach letters, and one mom would rotate. But in that group, this is essentially what we did too. If someone had a babysitting, like needed a doctor's appointment or something like that, we were each other's babysitters, and we would just text the group and say like, oh, well, I can take them after this, or I can do that. And there, the thing is like, I know one of the listener questions was sort of like, how do we make it like even, or what if there are more kids, which my, mom explained that. But we found in this group that different people needed different things. So like some people were the providers of like snacks and food at everything. They always were happy to do that. Other members of the group like love to have kids at their house. So for example, like for me, it was super easy for me to take kids to my house and already do what we were doing. And so it didn't really bother me, but I am less good at providing the food. And so I think the thing is that whatever you do, having an open communication so that nobody feels like they are being taken advantage of. And that it doesn't always have to be even. Of course, in a co-op like what my parents did and what I think you're trying to set up, the chits make it really easy. Like if you're out of chits or you're out of whatever money or whatever you're using to pay, you have to take more hours to get, the chits.
By the way, I Googled what chit is because I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, I'd never heard that either.
I've never heard that word. It's a small note, a voucher, or a token that serves as an informal record of an amount owed for food, drink, or services.
I've only ever heard it for the babysitting co-op. Like my mom would always be like, oh, it was this many chits.
And like when you start your co-op, you can literally come up with your own name for currency, which is very fun.
Like a shroot buck?
Exactly.
A shroot buck, yeah.
Exactly. Let's be honest, life gets messy, families fight, coworkers overstep, partners do weird stuff in bed. Luckily, Slate's advice columnists have seen it all. Sign up for the free Slate Advice newsletter and get our latest takes on sex, parenting, money, and every moral gray area in between, plus exclusive bonus letters delivered straight to your inbox. Subscribe now at slate.com/advice. The thing about that I'm so inspired by with this co-op, which I've never done, I've just always been like theoretically like, wow, this is the way forward. This shared model, it's like if you're babysitting someone else's kid, you're not gonna be resentful, if the parents like are staying out extra late and you have to stay longer because you're just earning more chits for you to later use. It's like the reciprocity of it. It's so it's so regenerative. And like your mom was saying, like once you get it going, there isn't that much maintenance. It seems like there's a lot of logistics up front. But once you get it going, it's like it seems like a freaking revelation.
I have too many cousins and uncles and aunts to, like it is what it is. I'm blessed that I have a ginormous family. So when it comes to babysitting, I literally just have to be like, hey, this, who's available? And immediately somebody will be like, I can do it, or drop them off or whatever. But if I were alone in a city that I didn't know anybody, this is something that I would like actively seek because that's a big deal.
I do think we should play the voicemail from my dad.
Here is some more information on the babysitting co-op that took care of Elizabeth and her sister. I don't know a whole lot about setting it up because it was a pre-existing, well-established co-op at the time we joined. We were invited to join by other members when we first qualified. What you should do is set your own limits. Ours was 2 kids per ticket. If there were 3 or more, then a ticket for each additional child. The tickets can be good for half an hour or an hour, depending on how you want to work your group. As a practical matter, users seek families that have children the same age or are already friends, so you really have no problems that way. In terms of what you have to do, you need to create and maintain a membership list, create the tickets, and have a book of phone numbers that can be circulated. And of course, now we can do all of that online. I would also suggest you have a rule book. It can be just one page. It's a dynamic document that changes with circumstances. You can keep this online, and you can have an annual or semi-annual membership meeting, but it's not really necessary. I will send Elizabeth some websites that have some good information, including one that has a set of co-op bylaws. I think that one makes it much more complicated than it need to be. If you need anything else, just ask me.
Okay, can I just say something right now?
Yeah.
This is exactly what I thought your father would sound like. Like cool, calm, collected, well-informed, crazy smart. Like this is someone I would trust flying a plane. And I don't even know if he's a pilot.
Trust him. You should trust my mom to fly the plane.
Well, guess what? He's got me fooled because that chill voice, that's
He
like,
is very
oh my
chill.
gosh, you were born with, you had that in your house? You are
He's
so
like
lucky,
a big
Elizabeth.
teddy bear. Yeah.
Holy cow. Like so calm.
He's mellowed
Oh my
out
God.
too. I think that's the gift of grandparenting. I did want to bring up that the rules that he mentions, I think, are really important. And I do think in this kind of day and age and everything we have, it is important that you sort of know the families, particularly if you're taking, your kids to their house.
Yeah.
And I think in there, like, you probably need to list, like, are there firearms in the house? Like, things like that. I think that's a really important thing to make sure that you're including and that people feel safe, that, I think our parents didn't have to worry about. And I will put those, I tried to copy the link into this document, but I copied the whole text message. So I'll get the link and put it in here.
Yeah, so your dad is going to be on call, he said, for...
Yeah. If you guys have questions for him, let us know. He's available. I'll text him. I will text him your questions. And apparently now, Zach, your mom, my parents, available to all of us.
Grandparents on call. I also just wanted to say that there's this article that we were reading from the Romper by the author Elizabeth Dorr, who talked about starting her babysitting co-op. And then she also wrote a separate Substack really outlining how to do this, like logistically.
It's excellent. I think it's the best thing I found out there.
Yeah, so that's going to be in the show notes as well. But I would first just call Elizabeth's dad at any time of the day.
Yeah.
Elizabeth's dad.
Listeners, if you've started a co-op, please, email us, but a voicemail would be amazing. Or like if you're thinking of starting a co-op and you get it off the ground, like we want to know. We want to know.
And like for the people that started it, what was something that you didn't think would be challenging, but was like how can we kind of get over these speed bumps?
Especially a more update, like the Romper article, like when you go to the Substack about how to set it up, she talks about how like her group is basically all on a spreadsheet now and requests are done that way and keeping track of things. So I think there's probably a lot of modern ways to do this that are pretty easy. But I really, really think you could probably really get this off the ground with just three or four families, and just trading off, some nights.
Yeah. So really, please call us with your, with your advice on how you're going about this or how you went about this. Voicemails are best, 646-357-9318. You can email us at careandfeedingpod@slate.com or join the conversation in the Slate Parenting Facebook group.
And that was our show. Subscribe, leave a rating and review, tell your friends. And if you want more parenting advice, you can find Care and Feeding, the column on slate.com. This episode of Care and Feeding is produced by Cheyna Roth. Micah Phillips is our video producer. Mia Lobel is executive director of podcasts for Slate. And Ben Richmond is senior director of podcast operation. I'm Lucy Lopez. You can find me on Instagram at the Lucy Lopez.
I'm Zak Rosen. I'm also there at Muzachary.
And I'm Elizabeth Newcamp. You can find me on Instagram at elizabeth.newcamp.
Gracias por escuchar nuestro programa. Nos vemos el lunes.
If you want more no-nonsense advice about parenting, relationships, money, and everything else life throws your way, sign up for the Slate Advice newsletter. A special thanks to our Slate Plus members. If you haven't already, consider joining. Slate Plus members get unlimited access to all of Slate's journalism and help support our independent reporting.